What's going on, guys? This is Real Deal Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ, back in for another great episode. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about Miles Sanders, people. The Eagles are expressing interest in Carlos Hyde, something that we feared getting closer to the season, but are we really surprised? I kind of figured that the Eagles were going to bring in a guy. They didn't draft anybody in the draft that was, worth threatening to Miles Sanders, throne, because they didn't draft anybody. So he came out as a winner that weekend, but now they're expressing interest in Carlos Hyde. So that's what I'll be covering today, what to expect and how to maneuver, getting Miles Sanders on your roster still. So I don't want to waste any more time, so let's get right into the episode. Now we have Miles Sanders with, the throne at threat where Carlos Hyde may be landing in Philly. Now, with Carlos Hyde going to Philly, with them even expressing interest into Carlos Hyde, he's not coming there to be no slouch, people. I mean, every time we see Carlos Hyde move, we always think that he's going there to be the backup, to be, the slouch, to be somebody that's there for depth. No, Carlos Hyde will be going to Philly to play, and this does hurt Miles Sanders a lot. And you got to look at it like this. When Houston picked up Carlos Hyde, he had 245 rushing attempts, people. That is no slack. That is nothing to be, slept on about. He had 245 attempts with 1,000+ yards and 6 touchdowns, people. So he was used. It wasn't like, Duke Johnson was going to threaten, his touches, but Duke Johnson still as well had touches as well coming from, that backfield. So it could be a different way that we see the Philadelphia Eagles use Carlos Hyde, being that they love the musical chairs. Not saying Miles Sanders will not be involved at all. Not saying he'll have less than like 150 attempts, or, he won't see that high 60 to 75%, snap opportunity. Like, he will be in that range between 60 and 75, I believe, where Miles Sanders, because you just cannot keep him off the field. He is such a great talent. So with the Penn State guy, being, he's kind of like, 2.0 of Saquon Barkley being available in that backfield, So him being able to get involved in a pass game does bring a lot of attraction to his value, to where I think he becomes, the focal point of that offense. Some games, not every game, because we know Philadelphia Eagles likes the musical chairs. So with Carlos Hyde going there, it's very unfortunate. And I hate to say that Miles Sanders' season may be over, to where you have to back up and backtrack on your investment on Miles Sanders come draft day for redraft and et cetera. Because honestly, I already didn't feel comfortable having Miles Sanders be, my RB1. So if I was to hit the draft with wide receiver, Miles Sanders in that third, I don't know. I never was like 100% comfortable with that. But I can see him as my RB2, being that he had the opportunity. But now with this Carlos Hyde stuff buzzing, I'm not too sure. I can only put Miles Sanders in the flex position, to where I can grab him in the 4th or 5th round, where I have, at least 2 stud running backs already snatched off the board in the 1st and 2nd round. Because this year's running backs, they're going like that, people. People are not, being generous with these running backs. They're going off the board like ASAP. So you're better off grabbing the stud running backs, grab a stud wide receiver, and then grab a Miles Sanders. You know what I mean? Because I just already didn't feel comfortable with him being my RB1 week to week. So again, with this whole thing with Carlos Hyde coming in, it does bring some damage. And also, I did mention Boston Scott in previous episodes of being somewhat, involved in that games, but I don't think now with Carlos Hyde coming there, Boston Scott will be the forgotten one. You know what I mean? I don't think he will even see the field as much as we saw him last season, cooking up in the end of the season with Miles Sanders, taking the lead back role, we should say. But I don't know what to make of it. I hope that Philly doesn't sign him. I hope that we can still get Miles Sanders season. But even with me reevaluating, getting closer, to the season, the draft's over. They didn't draft any running backs. Miles Sanders came out as a winner. It's like, I don't know. Do I still feel comfortable with Miles Sanders as my RB1, with Carlos Hyde out of the equation? I just don't feel like that's 100% full send, with Miles Sanders being an RB1. Again, I could take him as an RB2, but I got to have like a Zeke at my RB1, or I got to have a CMC or Saquon, one of the elites, because I just don't feel like that Miles Sanders week to week will be contributing enough points to me where I can feel comfortable to bring home the gold, people. That is the main thing. So I feel like with Carlos Hyde in this equation, without this equation, I'm still reevaluating my investment on Miles Sanders in that 3rd round, or fourth round, I have to have, again, a stud running back that will lead me week to week, that gives me the 20 points, 25 points, that gives me the elite fantasy points. And, I just don't see that happening with Miles Sanders week to week, being that he's done a system that loves the musical chairs with the running backs. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about, Miles Sanders, with this question over his head of his actual value? Because I think the third round is it's too high for me, man, to throw it out there to be my investment for, potentially my RB1, RB2. I see Miles Sanders more so as a flex, because I did a video on Miles Sanders versus Kenyon Drake. And the closer we get to draft day, I feel like Kenyon Drake will be the clear RB2 and Miles Sanders falls in that flex position. I may be wrong. I may be, just overthinking it. And then maybe Miles Sanders will prove me wrong. But again, Carlos Hyde is coming there, and he might be coming there. He's no slouch, people. He's nothing to be slept on. He's going to be there to play. And I'm sorry for my phone keep going off, notifications are buzzing. But anyway, Carlos Hyde's coming there to play. I wouldn't sleep on him. I would reevaluate, your rankings, your draft strategy, and how much an investment you want to put on Miles Sanders. I wouldn't do too much reaching or anything like that. I know I do preach go get the guy that you like, but I think Miles Sanders will be a reach anything above the third round, because, again, I just don't feel comfortable with him being my RB1. That's just me. I'm going to address the draft, correctly, appropriately, how I should be addressing a Miles Sanders type. But I think he's more of a flex position. So that's all I got for you today. I just wanted to jump in real quick with this news of the buzzing of Carlos Hyde, possibly joining Philly. And hopefully he doesn't. But, again, if he doesn't, I don't know. Miles Sanders, I don't know. He might get, I'm not going to say a hard pass, but he might get a pass, because I just don't know. But that's all I got for you guys today. This was a quick video. I don't want to keep rambling on and on about something that, you guys are getting the point about. But I'll see you guys next week for another great episode of Rio Dale Fantasy HQ with your boy LQ. Peace.